Welcome to the Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome to the Blue Dot podcast, where we explore the ideas that strengthen our communities and empower individuals to make a difference. I'm Natalie MacDonald.
And I'm Brian Koehl. And today we have a special nuts and bolts of democracy edition of the Blue Dot, where we are diving into a topic that often gets overlooked, but is absolutely critical: precinct-level training and involvement.
Yes, today we're joined by Denise Fritch and Jason Worms, who are members of the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee and work on the Community Action Team. And they are here to talk about what precincts are, what committee members do, why you should care, and how to become one. So Denise and Jason, thank you so much for being here to share
Thanks,
your
guys.
expertise. We really appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Can each of you tell us a little bit about who you are, what your role is on the executive committee, and maybe even a little bit of the why you're really kind of diving into precinct training and why it's important to you?
Yes, thanks for having us. I am a newbie. I am a member of the executive committee. I'm on this particular subcommittee because it's one of these things that I never knew really existed. I like to think that I have always been politically minded and pretty savvy, but it was until a friend of mine said, "Hey, have you ever thought of doing this?" Because I was looking for a place to plug in. I'm not ready to run for big offices or anything, at this time or ever. It was brought to my attention, and I said, "Well, what is that? What's a precinct member? What's a precinct captain?" I didn't even know these things existed, which it really, really surprised me. And so now I feel like it's important to let other people know that this is a way to plug in, and it's a way to plug in that doesn't necessarily require you to donate. And yes, I'm going to say my obnoxious line, it's a time to fundraise and not fundraise, but really growing a coalition of like-minded folks who want to take part in something and want to take meaningful action. Not that there aren't 1,000 ways to do that, but I think that one of the things that we're working towards is it's nice if you get involved here. It's nice that you no longer feel like you're the lone blue dot, and knowing that you do have some folks right around you, and it's at grassroots level. And quite frankly, I've told people 1,000 times, it's your local elections that you have a greater and can have a greater impact on, whether you're part of an executive committee or a precinct member. That's where the rubber meets the road, and it trickles upwards. That kind of momentum can go up, and that's what I'm hoping to do. That's why I got involved, and I'm really looking forward to getting my own rubber on the ground and canvassing and doing things like that.
Yeah, that's like I talk to people who, again, like you, are politically minded, but they're like, "What is this precinct thing?" And when you really get into it, this is where it happens. I mean, it is on that grassroots level. So I think there's so many people like you, Denise, who are ready to get involved, and this is just the most grassroots level way to get involved.
For sure.
And Jason, how about you?
Yeah, so I've been on the executive committee since 2020, and the precinct work has been the part of being part of the executive committee that has spoken the most to me. And it's where I look at the executive committee, we're 21 people, and that's not a lot of people to do all the things that a Democratic Party should do for a county the size of Kenton County. And so we need resources. We need help in order to be as effective and advocate for our values and our beliefs as much as we should. And for me, that's where the precinct organizing comes in, because there are a lot of people out there who maybe don't have the ability to take the effort that it does to do a podcast or be part of the executive committee or anything else, but they can be a precinct member or they can help. We have some people who, the way that they do work and get involved is they send postcards welcoming newly registered Democrats to the county. It doesn't take a big lift, but every person that we get that can help us do anything for the party is one less thing that the executive committee has to do, and we're able to focus then more on party building. And that pays us huge dividends when we have people running for office, because Now we've got people that know how to do things to help out the party, and that if they find a candidate that they like and they want to put their energy into helping them out, they already know how to do things. And so the candidate doesn't necessarily have to get them ramped up, doesn't have to do that in the rush in the approach to the election season. Like, they can tap into those resources and really hit the ground running with them right from the start.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Jason, 'cause I'm actually kind of a neophyte, kind of new to some of the, how all the mechanics of campaigning and elections and building consensus work, and all those small rules and small pieces consolidate into a movement. It's been really interesting to learn about. And we just recently had David Pepper on, and he had a segment on the importance of precinct. I mean, it was so heartening and really enlightening to hear that he said that is one of the key elements of, building a movement, of getting people elected. The precincts are where the building blocks of civic engagement begin, where the discussions start and neighbors connect. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about what the precincts are and how they're structured with the precinct officers?
Sure. So precincts are determined in Kentucky by the county clerk's office. So they are voting districts, for lack of a better term, that are designed to be between 3,000 and 6,000 people. And essentially, going back to pre-COVID times, every precinct in the county had a polling location in it. And that polling location was designed to serve those 3,000 to 6,000 people. Now, laws have changed since COVID so that we don't necessarily have a polling place for every precinct anymore, but that 3,000 to 6,000 people range is still what the county clerks use across the state. So when the clerk recently did their precinct allotments this year, we are at 62 precincts in Kenton County. I may have to check the number on that, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Those are how the county is broken up into groups, right? Of like, this is the group that would go to this polling place. For example, I live in Fort Wright. Fort Wright has had two precincts. We've been consolidated down into one. We have a polling place in the county for the next election. But that's essentially what it is. It's a county clerk designed place to kind of consolidate people around a polling location.
And then how are these precincts structured? There's a committee, right? And who makes up a committee on each individual precinct?
You want to take that one, Denise?
My understanding, again, Jason's like the pro at this, but my understanding is your precinct captain, who corrals precinct members. And we do have 62 precincts, Jason. We don't have people in place in all of those. So that's part of what we are trying to do as executive committee members, is build that coalition and let people know. Again, I'm convinced there are people who are like me sitting there going, I want to get involved. How do I get involved? And that I feel like we're going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to get people to say, yes, I want to plug in. That's how I want to do this. I want to build community. So really looking at, you've got your captain as that person who's going to be there and let you know, hey, these are the events we have coming up. We're going to hit the ground and canvas. We're going to do, X, Y, Z, any number of things. But I think the idea around, when you really say grassroots, the idea around this is that you are building the community where you live with folks who want to get involved. And then going forward, what does involvement look like? Okay. Everybody has a different comfort level. We understand that. And I think that the idea is that each individual precinct then will determine what that looks like. Is it a cookout? Is it a potluck? Is it let's have a bonfire night? What does that look like, just to get together and, again, build community? It's more about just being there for each other and listening and talking and building up that safe place to have meaningful discussions that we can then pass on to candidates.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, each precinct has three kind of formal roles. There's the precinct captain that Denise was talking about, and then there's two precinct committee members. And ideally, the way that it breaks down is that each precinct has a male representative, a female representative, and a youth representative, where youth is either gender and under the age of 40. And what the precinct officers are designed to be is the connective tissue between the executive committee and the registered Democrats in those precincts. So the executive committee, like I mentioned earlier, only 20 people in a county of 400,000 people, roughly half of them Democrats, like that's way too many people for us to interface with, right? So we need those precinct committees in those 62 precincts to kind of be that connective tissue. And that connection goes both ways too. If there's something that's going on in a precinct that the executive committee needs to be aware of or get involved in, or the party provides resources on, that's how we find out about it. The precinct committee members are communicating up to the executive committee. If there is a particular issue that someone who may run for office in that area needs to know about, the precinct committee members are the people who are expected to know that and plug us in so that we can make sure that we're running candidates that can fit with those things and be aware of those issues that are important. So the communication goes both ways. The exec committee says, here's our fundraisers, here's the events that we're doing, here's resources for you to reach more people within your precinct. And then also the precinct officers are communicating up to the exec committee. So it's a very important connective tissue into the kind of the fabric of the county.
Yeah. So when you're building these committees, I guess the first hurdle is, like Denise is getting out there, letting people know how you can get involved. And then when you have people on board, I think the second hurdle is to train people, right? So you have all these volunteers and you have leaders that, you want to make sure they understand the process, how to register voters, how to organize meetings, how to communicate, all of that kind of stuff, and giving them the tools. And that's ultimately what's going to drive change nationally. So what types of training are you conducting right now across the county to help start building up these committees to get ready to go for 2026?
Yeah. So for us, a lot of our precinct officers are either new to being this level of involved with the party or new to some of the technology that we use now, right? So a lot of the training that we're doing right now is skill building, things like how to use our canvassing apps, how to use technology, how to transmit information about the people that you talk to the party. What we're doing is we're providing them with essentially lists of registered Democrats in their precincts that they are being asked to go and contact and kind of gauge their willingness to volunteer for the party, how active of a Democrat they are, and in some cases to tell us if they've moved. Right. Some of our lists are pre-COVID from the last time we walked in some of those spots. And so we're trying to make sure that we have good updated data, and then also having our precinct committee members find people that may not want to be precinct officers, but are interested in volunteering, are interested in helping out. I know that we have at least one of our precinct committee members who has, from her first several walk lists, has a team of now 5 people that are helping her out. And they are people that were not involved specifically with the Democratic Party until she asked them. And so what we're hoping what we're building our trainings around to get started is to find those Democrats who are just an ask away from getting involved.
Yeah, that's you really are planting the seeds and building trust and, finding new people who can become really active members and participants on a grassroots level. As you continue to train the precinct members, what are you hearing from those that are out there in the community that you're engaging with?
Most of the times, and I think Denise can jump in here too, but most of the times what we're hearing is, I thought I was the only one. I didn't know that there were other people out here.
Right.
And for real, it's a thing where, and Denise talked about building community, but it's that also that awareness, right? And just knowing that, maybe your neighbors that are loud are not Democrats, but there are Democrats out there. I mean, like I mentioned, we're just like in the high 40% of registered voters in the county are Democrats. So it's not like it's not like we're in a sea of red. It's just a matter of right now the blues are a little bit quiet, and so we want to make sure that people can connect with them.
Well, and for so long, and I think it's still ongoing, it almost feels like you need to apologize. I'm sorry. And it's been that there's a little trauma associated, I think, sometimes, because sometimes the louder folks are, well, they're just that, they're louder. I just want to share some comments that were made when we had our precinct captains come for training. Somebody downloaded their list and they looked and she went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And it was because there were more people than she anticipated in her neighborhood that she felt she could now talk to. And I mean,
Wow.
think of that. Think of the power
Yeah.
in that, just I don't know, some of our trauma can be washed away knowing that we have some folks around us, right? And I don't say that lightly. I really do feel like a lot of times we've had to apologize or whisper, and it's like, no. But that's where starting at that grassroots level and getting to know the people in your neighborhood, which we've lost for so many reasons, right? This is a great way to kind of start building that back up. Another comment that I heard from a canvassing event was, first of all, a lot of people open their doors. I mean, how many of us open our door all the time? We don't, you know. I would say 9 out of 10 of us probably are like, nope, we're going to ignore the fact that some strangers at my door. But they had a lot of people open their doors. B, the comment very often was, oh my gosh, you're just here to listen. I just want to tell you, you know, all we were asking is what is on your mind, what's important to you. And too often we're not taking the time to listen, people in general. But the fact that that's what was going on during at least that particular canvassing event, it was really impactful and it was meaningful to those who opened their door. So I think it's huge. It has, you know, that's the butterfly effect, right? And I feel like it can just get better and better from there.
Well, it's probably because we give our canvassers these beautiful Kenton County Democrats
Yeah.
T-shirts so that they can be identified when they go to
Yeah.
knock on those
That
doors.
helps.
And
I mean,
sometimes
that does
people are
help.
like, "Wait a minute, you're not selling bug spray," and I do want to talk to you about what's going on in my community. And you know, Denise, that's one of the biggest things I've heard too in knocking on doors is people are like, "I just want to talk." You know, when we have our happy hour events, so like I just want to talk to someone and have somebody that's like-minded because people are scared right now. They're scared of what's happening in our country. And I think that they're eager to talk.
They're eager to talk about topics that they don't worry about ruining a friendship with, right? Like if you go into a situation where you don't necessarily know the leanings of someone that you're talking to, you're putting that friendship potentially at risk. And some people are just like, we'll just talk about the Bengals or the Reds or something instead and not even touch that, even though the
Yeah,
politics, it
right.
really impacts their lives.
I just wanted to make a note. I think it was Denise that said the person was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know there were this many people out here who share the same sentiments, the same beliefs and thoughts." I've really gotten into all the protests and demonstrations, and it's exactly because of that reason. The first one I went to, I was like, "Holy cow, there are actually people out there who feel the same way I do, passionate about this and worried about this." And politics have built up such a wall between us now.
I was just going to say, this is the Pollyanna in me, perhaps, but I really do. I know I'm here for Democratic Party. I get it. But at some point, we're going to have to learn how to meet in the middle and how to make some compromises. Cause I do
Absolutely.
really firmly in my heart of hearts believe that most people want the same basic things.
Percent.
And it's all the noise, it's all the, you know, social media, and it's all of that stuff that is really just breaking this process down in a way that it's gotten out of control.
Mhm.
So anyways, yeah, that's all I
I'm
wanted to add.
100% with you. Right on.
Yeah, and like you said, it's people controlling the narrative. People are taking away our voice as Democrats and telling people what our mission or what our platform is, and we need to take our voices back. And again, this is what we're doing: is talking to our neighbors and saying, "No, this is what we believe in. You know, this is our platform, and we're here to help people." You know, and I've heard a lot of some really kind of creative ideas with these precinct members, kind of like you said, maybe doing an outdoor movie night or a barbecue. I don't know if you've heard of any other like kind of fun best practices that have been used.
I mean, one, I'm not particularly creative. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not particularly creative, but what I hear from the other groups is usually it is sometimes super simple, right? It's just like have a drink in your driveway after work with a couple of neighbors. And it doesn't have to be a big
Mhm.
thing. It doesn't have to be 100 of your closest Democrat friends in your precinct. It can be 2 or 3 people at a time. But you find your people, find your tribe, and now you know a couple of those people that if you want to have a Tuesday political gripe fest, those are the people that you talk to. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be a bonfire. It can be a cookout. It can be some trunk or treat type of a thing with your friends and neighbors, or it can be just a couple of people that you know and feel comfortable with talking about things where you know that you can be constructive or just have a vent session and make yourselves feel better. Like it takes all forms.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be like, do we have to limit that gripe session to just Tuesday? Couldn't we do that more often?
No, we want to get constructive at some point.
You want to get constructive? Oh,
We're
that's
gonna
the
get
goal. Okay, I
constructive at
got you.
some point. Yes.
I got you. I got lost
Yeah.
there for a minute.
I'm all for venting though. I'm all for venting, trust me.
It does help.
Now, and I do think that each precinct will find their own flavor, right? Like what that looks like. And I have no doubt there's going to be some precincts in some areas where somebody gets involved and says, "Hey, I will host something bigger, something maybe that is a fundraiser at some point." But it really starts with the driveway drinks. And I'm just going to start doing alliterative events now. So
Yeah.
it's my
Well,
thing.
and Kenton County is very diverse, right? I mean, we've got Covington where you can have, in the patio and have 50 people show up. And then you have Piner where your neighbor is 2 miles away. So having driveway drinks is less of an option, but they find other ways to get together. So there is no one
That's a
prescription
really
that's
good
going to
point.
fit all across the county. And that's, again, why we want precinct officers, is because they know their area, they know their people, they know what they want. And if we as a executive committee are trying to dictate to people how best to do these things, they're not going to be as successful.
I
Yeah,
also
so
think that we have things that we regularly do. I can say that. Like the happy hours. And of course we have our monthly meeting and we have things like that already in place. But yeah, I think Jason's right. Like you're gonna find what's right for your area.
So with that kind of diversity in mind, and needing more people to get involved, wanting more people to get involved, just because of the scale of Kenton County and the number of Democratic registered voters out there, and the more that we want to register, if someone wants to get involved in becoming a precinct committee member, captain, how can they get involved? What's the best way to get that started?
Contact either of us is the best way to get that process rolling. As the community action committee, this is ultimately our responsibility to fill those precinct officer spots. And if you come to us and want to get involved and you're in a precinct that has 3 officer spots already filled, great. We still love to have you. It doesn't have to be limited to 3. 3 is kind of our goal to get to. But if you want to be involved, we got a spot for you.
Great.
Absolutely. And if you don't have your information, obviously reach out to the Kenton County Democrats. We'll make sure that we put people in touch with you both. And you guys have done amazing work. I know you're holding trainings often. Is there cadence, or how are you doing the trainings?
Yeah, so we've done 2 trainings so far, and our most recent one was recorded. People who join as precinct officers or people who weren't able to attend either of the first 2 trainings, now it's kind of on demand. So as we get more people, they'll be able to see the trainings and kind of catch up. And Denise and I do check-ins with our precinct officers, sometimes via text, sometimes via email, just kind of seeing what's what. We're providing updated lists every month to our precinct officers so they can kind of see the progress and then find more people to reach out to that are in their neighborhood. We try to connect with folks a couple of times a month that are precinct officers, just to kind of keep them on track, find out if they're having any issues or things that we can help support them with.
That sounds like there's a ton of support out there for sure. Any last minute tidbits? Anything else you
Well,
want to add for it?
I was going to say our stats. We figure we have probably more than 40 precinct officers have attended the training since mid-September. So that's good. And then we have 521 doors have been knocked on. Of those, 108 voters chit-chatted and expressed
Wow,
their
that's a lot.
yeah, so I mean, really for a relatively short period of time. And again, Jason and I have had this conversation, is that we really want to plug into who's ready to go and get them going. And now the next piece of this is, where do we need folks to plug in and how do we get them involved? So we are open to any and all ideas, but that is really where we're headed next. And then having that training now recorded will allow us to onboard folks as they come on, and there's no lag time between. So really, I think that's going to be very helpful.
And although you're talking to, I think you said 108 voters, you have walking cards you're giving to them, and those people, you think about each one of those, if they talk to 5 people, say,
Yes.
what, this person came up and, gosh, did you know that this exists in Kenton County? And actually all counties, not just Kenton County. I do want to emphasize that. Anybody listening from any other counties, this is happening in every single county. So there's ways to get involved no matter where you are across the state. So it's a huge impact for sure. But thank you so much for both being here and educating us on this extremely important topic. And it's this kind of
Yeah, it's really
grassroots.
interesting. Good
Yeah, it's
info.
this grassroots involvement that is really what we need to grow the Blue Dot in all of our communities. And just because we may not be empowered doesn't mean we're powerless. And you guys are proving that every single day.
Well, thank you for
Yes.
having us
Yeah,
on. Really
thank you so
appreciate it.
much. Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, everyone, that's it for this special edition of the podcast. Thank you for joining, and we'll catch you next week for our regularly, that's a hard word, isn't it, Denise? Regularly scheduled full podcast.
Yes, and until next time, remember to stay curious, keep the facts in focus, and never stop fighting for what matters. Peace out, everybody.